Where's Glenn? No, where's me tobacco?
I don't know, mate. What are you up to, mate? Right.
No.
Right, what are you doing, mate?
Look.
Where's it?
It's icing off a donut. Where's my tobacco, mate?
Packet, isn't it?
Yes, you bro. Do you want your Do you want a donut?
No. Can't, right?
Yeah, just roll a cigarette.
Fucking good, mate. We've got time for that shit.
We have. It's not red yet.
Current bun dictates otherwise, mate.
About half an hour.
Bah.
Here, mate.
You got it, bah. You got it, bah.
Yeah, I got it.
You got it, bah.
Yeah, I got you.
Nice, bah. Loving it, bah.
Loving it.
Jag style, bah.
Right, bruv.
We're away, aren't we?
We are. We're good to go.
Good go, bruh.
Welcome to the Dreaming Jaguars.
Welcome to the Jaguar.
The Jaguar. Okay.
So.
You start it.
Okay. The hyped up video with Carl Hayden Smith is happening, which we've shot it, but he has had word from Chris Timmerman of Imperial College that he would like us not to release the video until Christmas due to the study protocol of the new participants that are actually going to undertake the experiment itself. He doesn't want their opinions to be swayed by Carl's deep dive experience
If they happen to see it,
which is probably quite likely.
It does need to be held off, because if somebody does see it, then it will corrupt those findings, won't it?
Yeah.
So you can understand why Chris has come across and said that. Unfortunately, it just means we've got to hold off. So as soon as we're allowed to release it, we will release it. It's the same with our information and the Dave Luke experiment. We're still not really allowed to talk about
We just
that.
did. We just went ahead and did it.
Well, but we didn't really discuss the ins and outs, did we? The truth and the real, the fact that in that space we were dancing around holding hands and
can't say it, mate.
we met them amazing entities that gave us that amazing information.
We can't say it.
We can't talk about it.
So that's the deal with Carl's video. But just to show you guys that we've shot the video, here's a bit of B-roll of Carl. Yeah? So that's coming soon. Stand by for more stuff. And on to today's video. Shall we walk up here a little bit, get away from the sea?
Yeah.
So today, we thought we'd have a little bit of a conversation about one of Juzzy's psychedelic revelations.
Well, it wasn't a psychedelic revelation, was it? It was a conversation I was having with my mother. Bless her heart, 76. She'd never heard of the double slit experiment or the fact of the wave and the particle. So a brief explanation. There was an experiment being carried out to do with photons, correct me if I've got the science completely wrong. And that experiment...
it's a world famous experiment, isn't it?
Yeah, the double slit.
Yeah, the double slit.
But ultimately, it went wrong and they left it on. And when they came back, the outcome of the experiment, which was expected in a physical reality, had changed. So the particle that was falling through the slit, or the double slit, was creating a different pattern on the light plate, or whatever it was capturing those particles and recording them. That changed when they weren't observing it, which henceforth brought forth the theory that the conscious observer will bring about the change from a waveform, the collapse of the waveform, so it turns from a waveform into a physical particle. That's how I understand it. Anyway, I was trying to explain this to my mother, and we were also discussing about the the effects of the psychedelics. And as I was explaining to her, I had this thought, which was, and we can expand on this, and it could be crazy because I don't know about this stuff, but the thought that came to my mind was that when you take DMT or a psychedelic of that sort, you are retuning your brain to a different frequency, which allows you then to
not
perceive,
fact, by the way,
not fact, no,
just theory,
but then that allows you to perceive light or matter in a different way. And my theory then went on to think that if you're altering your frequency, you're not seeing this reality, you're seeing a different reality, which means your conscious then is observing reality in a different state, so you are seeing the wave particles. When you see the geometry, you are seeing the wave function, and that's where these patterns come from.
Right,
boom.
Let's cut there for a second, because that was awesome.
Sweet. So yeah.
So,
as I was saying,
let's elaborate on that then.
Elaborate, right? Yeah. Okay.
So,
the wave.
You theorised that during the breakthrough DMT state,
yeah,
that
doesn't even have to be a breakthrough.
For whatever mechanism is taking place in the brain, allows the mind's eye to perceive the wave function before it turns.
Doesn't the pineal gland have a light receptor? Is it not a light receptor?
I believe it is.
So maybe the frequency is changed.
So maybe you are able to perceive all possibilities,
multi-universes,
multiverse
in one place, and the geometry you're seeing is all that entangling in itself.
Yeah, nice. Like it. Okay, cool.
There's absolutely no way I can prove that because I'm not clever enough.
So, all right then. So let's go back to what we were talking about earlier throughout the course of the day, where we were saying, so the theory of the makeup of the universe, is a geometry based.
How did we get to that? No, because the first thing you said to me was, "Have you heard? Have you heard the news this morning?"
It wasn't the news this morning, is it?
Well, have you heard the new breakthrough where they actually?
So on the front of New Scientist magazine,
there you go.
There is the front cover is basically what's his fucking name? Anthony Peake. So on the front cover of New Scientist magazine, which is out this month for anybody in the UK or around the world, I think, to go and find it in a newsagent's. And Anthony Peake had this on his Instagram page, a picture of it, of the cover, which is what I saw it and thought, I'll have a look at that next time in newsagents. The front cover is reality, is anything real? So there's kind of new breakthrough science that has pushed forward the theory that reality is rendered by the observer, by the conscious observer, and without a conscious observer, it's a bit like the old, if a tree falls in the woods, does anyone hear it, right? So if there's no conscious observer, then is anything solidified? Does the wave function collapse into a particle, right? And I think the theory goes, before this new science has come out, is that there's a clear divide between quantum mechanics and physics, and that the rules of quantum mechanics do apply to some extent to the rules of macroscopic particles, i.e.,
The particles
the
in
particles
the
that
stone.
you see. So there's a divide between those two, and actually now the theory is that unless they find a specific barrier between the macro and the micro, quantum and physical reality, then they're now assuming that actually all matter all wave becomes particle only when observed by a conscious observer.
And then
right?
you have to look at that like a computer programming, rendering the game in front of you on the two-dimensional screen.
Yeah.
A three-dimensional reality is rendered, and you've got a whole there's a whole area in that whatever it is, COD or whatever game you're playing. You know that you can go to these different areas and they're just over there. If you run that way, it's just over there, but that isn't actually rendered. It isn't real until you get to it, and it's the same what they're saying, the same principle in this physical reality. Which is an insane thought, because I am actually rendering every fucking stone on this beach right now.
Possibly.
Yeah?
Possibly.
My conscious is creating, well, it's there, but because
the information's there, but your conscious observation of it is turning it into a solidified
And then the
matter.
question behind that goes, well, you're here, you're looking at the same stones, so we're entangled in our consciousness there. But like you said earlier, your mother at home sat there drinking a cup of tea.
Information.
Is just information
to me,
to her, to you.
Yeah.
But to her,
she's popped into reality.
She's her own reality, and you are a fabricated.
Yeah, I'm the information.
You're
now.
the information
right now.
now
I'm information.
to her.
Yeah, it's quite a weird one, isn't it?
Fucking
So then
hell.
that kind of then when you go into the DMT, so when you take it to the psychedelic level and you see the geometry, this is difficult because we're just layman idiots, right? So it's difficult for us to kind of put this into words. But I'm thinking, well, so you hear about the sort of the theoretical or the theory of this information process, and that these dimensions are geometric structures, right? And there are geometrists, and I watched a podcast the other day, and it was a physics podcast because I'm a proper geek, right? And I listened to this podcast,
like that.
and this guy it was on Lex Friedman's podcast, and the guy was talking about that there are, the world's leading geometrist is part of the string theory department at Harvard University, and he's kind of trying, as it stands at the moment, to work out the geometry of the remaining 7 dimensions and don't fact check what we might be wrong in what we're saying here because we're just talking live to the camera, but the general theory around it is sound. So the string theory states that there are 11 dimensions, and this geometrist is currently at work trying to put together the geometric formula of the remaining 7 dimensions of string theory, right? Well, when you smoke a break, when you do a breakthrough dose of DMT,
I forgot this part of the conversation.
Your entire reality is made up of this geometric, this just impossible geometry, and then obviously the entities and these almost actually environment state. Hang on, hold up. So there is almost like a collapse of the wave function in the DMT space, because when you hit the breakthrough point of a DMT flash, you go through the geometry, and the geometry stabilizes into an environment.
So you tune into a different
frequency. You're kind of collapsing the wave function within that geometric space to a certain extent to allow this kind of solidified.
I love the fact you've elaborated on a theory that is completely unfounded, which I came up with, and then you've elaborated on top of that theory to say there's another theory.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking
not only do you stop collapsing the waveform in this reality, but then you pass into another frequency reality, and then you collapse the waveform there to create the particles and the physical reality.
So if you think about
it's a different physical reality.
If you think about the geometry of the DMT, you'd smoke, you hit a DMT, you hit the one pipe, right? You hit the one blast. You don't break through, but you get to the chrysanthemum, the dome, right? And you just got this impossible geometry. Maybe that is all possibilities, right? That is the wave right there,
Yeah. That's all
But
possibility.
That's
Yeah.
all possibility, just morphing, twisting, shaping, turning, and it's all
Probabilities. All
probability.
probability.
And then when you're in that DMT space and you've gone too far and you hit the breakthrough, then you collapse the wave function of that geometry, and that solidifies that
into the new frequency.
Yeah, see,
We've got it. I tell you.
cracked it, mate.
And the other argument we had today is why is it right? And we're going to hold these, like, you've got Andrew Gallimore, you've got Dave Luke, you've got Chris Timmerman, you've got all these people, you've got Seth Anil, is it, or is it the other way around? I never get his name right.
Anil Seth.
Is it Anil Seth or Seth? Yeah, right. So
We don't know any. We know a few of these guys. But
yeah,
we don't know.
but you're all working in this stuff where you're fucking about with consciousness and reality and what we see, right? And you all know, right? All of you know that these drugs.
I don't know about Anil Seth.
Maybe not, no. But anyway, so
Gallimore Dave.
you do have, you know, okay, that it does give you this. So why aren't we convincing these mathematicians and
geometrists?
What if that's what they're actually called? We could just have made that word up. I'm not actually sure. A bit like a geologist, but a geometrist, right? So why aren't you going, right? Have some of this,
Mark, come here.
Yeah, have some of this, and then do the maths.
Yeah.
And tell me what you're getting out of it then.
Yeah.
Why aren't they doing that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Because is it that no one is actually taking it seriously enough now to go? Because I mean, like, I look at it and I get information and I learn stuff from it. My small brain can pick up little bits of information that it's either come through the subconscious part back to me, or it hasn't. It's just been given to me. I'm not even arguing that, but the reality is, why aren't people going, well, I'm going to have a blast on DMT, and then I'm going to calculate or work out those geometric shapes, those patterns that I'm seeing. I'm going to spend a bit of time there rather than breaking through. I'm going to have a look at that shit and see what that shit.
Yeah, I mean, you have these people on like Rogan's podcast and Lex Friedman's podcast, right? And Lex is always talking about psychedelics. He has psychedelic. He has Jesus. He had them all on there, hasn't he? Right, talking about psychedelics. You know, the guy from Maps, can't remember what his name is. Just loads of them, loads of people that are in this environment. And you'd think that someone would say, hang on a minute, so you are studying geometry of the remaining 7 dimensions of string theory, well, and you're trying to get a handle on what that is and what that looks like. Well, if you were to smoke DMT, then you would pretty much have the best handle or the best observation for a short period of time of geometry from any of your peers or anyone else that's in your field of expertise.
You might get a helping hand.
You could even have a breakthrough.
You might have a step forward.
You could have your own breakthrough.
However, I've just had this enlightenment where I've just sat there and thought about that. What you're actually asking them to do is go in there, do it, on the pretext that it won't have any effect or change. So what about if their fear is that they'll go in there, they'll see something, believe it is real, work it out mathematically or however it is, but it actually be a fabrication because it's come from a psychedelic and not, even though the LSD double helix was apparently on a LSD fucking breakthrough or whatever, but that could be a big fear that you actually might, if you're not into psychedelics and you don't have this understanding of it, you might have a fear that what you're actually shown changes your perspective, but actually changes your perspective in the wrong way, and then you start spouting this stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know if they would be able to have a handle on. I think it's worth the risk.
Yeah, there must be some.
I mean, surely
there must be some of them out there who just go, fuck my career, I'm just going to do this shit and see what I can learn.
Just like you say, there's evidence, there's overwhelming evidence out there that psychedelics will aid in creativity. Like you say, the double helix. Actually, I think it was a vision. I don't think it was a psychedelic, was it? But anyway, there are other.
He was doing LSD, wasn't he?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was. That's what might
maybe.
Be a lifestyle.
But there are lots of those instances. I mean, look at what's his name from Apple? Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs regularly did LSD sessions to aid in his creativity in trying to come up with breakthroughs with Apple. Right, there are lots of instances where people have, and we know from experience that when you're into a psychedelic state and you're into that, when I say state, like you kind of wax and wane with when you regularly take psychedelics, and when you're in one of them psychedelic few month periods where you're doing quite a lot, you do feel more creative. Things do come to you, ideas do come to you a little bit easier and a little bit freer. So
like a muse.
So yeah,
and actually,
anyway,
if you look back through history, so look at Plato, we know from the Euclidean, is it?
Eleusinian.
They reckon they were doing the psychedelics there, so perhaps those scientists were able to bring forth knowledge off the back of what because we've been proposing that anyway with the fucking stoned ape theory, isn't it?
And how far back can you go? People think that the Egyptians knew, and the Aztecs and the Mayans knew what they knew about the cycles of the stars and their astronomical knowledge and their mathematical
from how
knowledge.
They moved them blocks.
Exactly, and they were smashing DMT. They were absolutely pulverising it.
They were annihilating psychedelics. I'm not going to argue with that.
They were, but they were certainly the South American Indians and the Egyptians would definitely know, and and it's all.
Well,
and
the whole
thing is all. Well, there's obviously you've got the acacia tree, isn't you? There's all that theory now about acacia.
They've said that
don't dog off.
They've said
theories, mate.
They've said there ain't enough fucking. DMT for you to burn the acacia and get oil.
No, but they are also chemists, alchemists.
I'm not arguing it, mate. I'm just putting a devil's advocate across an argument.
Let's just say then that the ancient civilizations were smashing psychedelic drugs, and that's how they were able to build the pyramids. In contact with aliens.
I did see, right, just on a tangent, and a hilarious. Well, no, sorry, I don't want to put it down, but there's a French documentary about how the pyramids were built. Part of it is they reckon all the sandstone was made like concrete, so they just moulded it in situ. And if you think about it, just digging the sand and making the concrete and making them blocks in situ, you could build that quite easily. It's good. It's a good little idea. I thought, this is cool. And then it got round to how they melted the granite into blocks and made them into prefabricated stones with these 20-metre glass fucking optics that catch the sunlight and make enough heat to melt granite.
Well, if you can do that, mate.
Well, if that's how they did do it, fucking hell.
Yeah. But no, it's all interesting stuff. It's all interesting stuff. So we thought we'd just have a little rant on that. So any scientists out there that are friends of ours, Mr. Luke, Mr. Pascal Michael, Mr. Gallimore,
please come back
Mr.
and
Anthony
explain
Peake,
us.
any of you boys can just put forward a word to your mathematician, scientist, academic friends and say, hang on a minute, mate, if you want to push forward string theory or push forward these theories of geometry, then you need to smash some DMT.
Just coincidentally, Anthony Peake has never used a psychedelic.
I know he hasn't.
Yes, not that that's a bad thing, but I didn't want that to be him to be taken in into that. Fine. I'm not sure how he would feel about that.
That shit.
You don't have to cut that out. We've made our statement.
So that's it, isn't it, for today? That was a bit of fun, bit of a fun conversation. Anyone want to elaborate on it or add a comment or give us some of your enlightened knowledge, because you're all very, very clever people with your own ideas and your own theories. Whack them in the comments below.
Do psychedelics allow you to see the wave?
Do psychedelics allow you to see the wave before it becomes a particle? We may well have just picked up on something there, and someone at Greenwich University is going to run with that and get the Nobel Prize. Yeah,
exactly.
Get stuff.
Well, we put it out there first, so we'll be able to prove it.
That's a good point. So that's the deal. That's us.
Cut to B-roll.
Cut to a bit of B-roll with a nice sunset behind us. Carl's video is coming soon, Christmas time, and we'll have another video soon.
Yes, we will do another video, even if it's an iPhone one, which I keep saying we should do. But anyway, like, subscribe.
See you soon.
Yeah.